Hey guys, Brandon Lewis here with the Tennessee Conservative News Break. They say if you are really a Facebook Live professional, that you're supposed to do something uh, to basically fill up the time until people show up. So I don't know if I'm supposed to like do some kind of Macarena dance or maybe scream some inflammatory explicatives. Is that how you pronounce that? So I'm kind of at a loss. So in the comments section, you can kind of go ahead and give me ideas of what I can do while we wait for folks to come on here. I see that we've got a few. If you would, and if you enjoy conservative news in Tennessee, let me know where you're watching from. We're about to get into the headlines that should matter most to Tennessee conservatives, wherever you're listening to this broadcast from across the state of Tennessee. Leave it in the comments section. And if you know of a news story that needs to be covered, that's not being covered, let us know. And if you can give us some kind of lead or tip, we'll follow up on it just like we did when we broke the story about the Migrant Detention Center here in Chattanooga, Tennessee. Brandon Lewis here with the Tennessee Conservative News Break. We are going to get straight into the headlines, and here they are. Headline number one: Bill banning dark money in elections passes the Tennessee Senate. A bill intended to keep private money from funding elections passed the Tennessee Senate on Wednesday. Senate Bill 1534 was approved by a 26-4 vote. It prevents an individual organization from giving money or equipment to the state election commission or those in charge of local elections, like Mark Zuckerberg did when he dumped all the money into these urban blue areas all over places in the United States to help turn out more Democrat voters. And so it's amazing. People are taking money from private corporations to give people a disparate opportunity to turn out the vote in places that they know are districted for Democrats. Bill sponsor Senator Kerry Roberts, a Republican from Springfield, said he wasn't aware of this being an issue until last November's election. Look no further than Georgia. Again, in the headlines yesterday, Roberts said, we've got 400 some drop box ballots with no chain of custody that was funded, to my understanding, by private money. And I think he's on to something there. So hopefully in Tennessee, we can keep these billionaires from putting money into election commissions and other places in urban areas to help turn out the vote. It completely disadvantages folks that are in rural areas, and that was the intention. Governor Lee to consider a bill on LGBTQ curriculum. I wish we could come up with something that was not an acronym. We just need to come up with something. If you can think of a better acronym than LGBTQ or just a word, maybe we'd start using it here at the Tennessee Conservative. That's just a mouthful. Robert Lee, Governor Lee will soon be considering a Tennessee bill that would require schools to inform parents of any curriculum that includes instruction on gender identity or sexual orientation that would allow parents to opt their students out of that instruction. And I'm in favor of this. So Governor Lee, closed circuit transmission. If anybody in the governor's office watches this or keeps up with the Tennessee Conservative News, uh, our kids don't know how to read and write in Tennessee schools. They can't do basic math. They don't know how to manage finances. They don't know how to do a job interview. They can't use and do basic computer skills that they would need to get out into the real world. So we don't really need to be muddying the waters with things that are for really parents' discretion. The notification to parents must come at least 30 days prior to instructions. Parents would then have the right to have their children's excused from participation in that curriculum, and students could not be penalized in any way for that allowance. The bill passed through the House Wednesday morning with wide margins of 64-23. It'll be passed on to the Senate next week. The legislation was initiated by Republican Senator Paul Rose and Republican Representative Deborah Moody, both of Covington. Nashville Democrat. Next story: Representative ready to jump on board with Amtrak expansion. Listen to this. Biden has released a proposed plan that would allocate $80 billion for Amtrak. This is supposed to be an infrastructure bill. We need infrastructure that people actually use. People actually use. People don't ride the train in Tennessee. They just don't. And there aren't many places to ride a train to and from that would be as efficient as hopping on the highway. It's just not a thing we have. We are not a densely populated urban area in Tennessee. This is wasteful. The initial steps for Tennessee include a route from Nashville to Savannah with stops in Murfreesboro, Chattanooga, Atlanta, and others. States involved in the expansion have to come up with a portion. Now, here's always the deal, right? This is the kicker. This is how they continually get states and localities to do things that aren't in their interest. This is how they do it. It's almost like payday lending in a way. They give you a bunch of stuff up front for free, and then the interest just goes on forever. States involved in the expansion will have to come up with a portion of the cost for any expense that are not covered by the sale of tickets. So they give you all this money up front, and then they say, oh, well, by the way, this is just upfront money to give up front, but after a while, you've got to cover it at the state level. Representative Jason Powell, a Democrat out of Nashville, sees potential in the plan and hopes to present a bill that would look into the state's share of the cost of Amtrak services and outline just what a plan would cost taxpayers. Cost taxpayers. However, both airlines and commercial railroad companies have issue with Amtrak's plans, and the majority of conservatives in Tennessee consider it a waste of taxpayer money, and that's absolutely true. One Tennessee conservative reader said that Amtrak has lost money since its inception. It's subsidized by taxpayers who overwhelmingly never use it, and that's true. Just to break even, it would have to charge rates that no one will pay. Americans love their autos, and liberals hate that. And it's true. It's true. It is easy to control people when they have to hop on a government subsidized train and get around. And that's what they want. They want all of us to have every aspect of our lives as conservatives tied up in some kind of government policy, from your health care to how you get from point A to point B to how you consume, what you consume, where you consume. It's all about control. And we've learned that over the past year. Here at the national level, report details franchise corporation practices that hurt small businesses. An 87-page report from U.S. Senator Catherine Cortez Masto says that a slew of business practices that corporations have allegedly used to boost profits at the expense of small business owners. Practices range from providing business owners with misleading or altogether false information to levy excessive fees without merit. Owning a franchise business can be a good opportunity for an eager entrepreneur, Cortez said in a statement, but for too long, some franchise corporations and lenders have been allowed to treat entrepreneurs unfairly, which cascades into low-wage employment and store closing. Cortez Masto commissioned the report following the hearing about deceptive business practices before the U.S. Senate Committee, Banking, Houses Affairs, and Urban Affairs. I'd like to dig into that. I'm not sure exactly what all is in that report, but in her report, the office claims several witnesses told stories of pain and suffering caused by unfair practices of their corporate owners. Once you get into a franchise relationship, it's like a marriage. And if you sign that marriage contract, and if that contract is not favorable to you, and if you did not do your research, it can be very difficult to get out of it without suffering irreparable financial harm. And I coach a lot of businesses across the United States, and I have seen people get into these situations, and it is not good. Okay, this is probably the biggest story. I probably should have led with this in hindsight, but gas and other consumer prices spike in 2021 of the first quarter. I'm building a house right now. I don't know what I'm thinking. Picked a bad time probably to build a house. Gas prices are through the roof. I know tons of friends that depend on gas to get their company vehicles from point A to point B. People that have to take in large amounts of inventory over the highways and byways. Diesel powers most of our locomotives, and indeed even our tanker ships on the high seas. And when this stuff goes up, it really hurts business and it hurts consumers. The Bureau of Labor Statistics released data on Tuesday showing a sharp increase in consumer prices, especially gasoline, as many struggling Americans working to make ends meet. March saw the largest spike in nearly a decade. This is Bidenomics right here, buddy. You're seeing it. However, increased inflation, a rise in demand for crude oil, and the Biden administration's proposed new taxes and regulatory measures could send gas and energy prices soaring even higher in the months to come. The increase in energy prices, particularly gasoline, leads to an overall spike in the price of consumer goods. When drivers spend more on gasoline to transport the goods, it costs more to consumers. Republican Senator Rick Scott said, when you grow up poor, as I did, you know what it means to a family when gas prices go up. And this is true. This is true. If you've never been in a situation where you're worried about food, shelter, and transportation, I'm talking about, like, I can remember when we couldn't go see people growing up because we did not have the gas money. I mean, it was a consideration. Gas money. A lot of people have that consideration. Back to the story, and this is a quote from U.S. Senator Rick Scott. Things like the Biden administration remains in la land, ignoring the fact that prices of everyday goods like groceries, essential supplies for businesses are rising and making it harder for folks to make ends meet. It's time to turn to reality and lay out a clear plan to address rising inflation and protect American families. Let me know if you've seen prices go up. If you've seen prices go up at the grocery store, if you've seen prices go up at the pump, if you've seen prices go up in your business, if you run a small business, let me know. Put it in the comments section. Share it with other readers. Local story. Okay. Chattanooga Public Library patron data breach detected. Red alert. A potential data exposure affecting patrons who renewed their cards through the library website has been uncovered. Probably like 3 people. Maybe more than 3 people. I don't know. Personal data of some people have been used online since October of 2020 may have been exposed. The data includes various forms of identification that were uploaded to prove residency during the library card renewal process. Residency? You got to, okay, so let me get this. Voter identification, and other forms of identification are racist and terrible. But the Chattanooga Public Library, which used to have that gentleman that worked at it, Grimy, who burned the conservative books and got fired. Like that, there's a piece of work. Your typical entitled government employee. But here we are. We're asking for identification to rent a book or to get a book if they have books still in the library. The library has stated that they are notifying these patrons in both the library and the city IT department that they have taken steps to correct the issue. It is recommended that any patron who has renewed their library card, so if anybody knows the 3 people who renewed their library card, make sure that you get in touch with those people. In the past 6 months, should monitor their information and credit file using a free service like Credit Karma or Experian. Let's get into the comment section here and see what people have had to say while we have been live. We're going to have a real special guest next week if everything goes right. I'm not going to tell you who it is yet. Somebody that I've known for a long time. I'm kind of excited about that. So next week, I think it will be probably around Thursday. You'll get to see that. Hello from Las Vegas, moving to the Nashville area in less than a month. And this is Griselda Gleason. Thank you. Amy Hamby, welcome to Tennessee. Hope you like it. Hey, look, see, we're a nice place. Michael nicely says that this is a Green Deal scam. Yes, Amtrak is. Hello from Joliton. Debbie, thank you for joining us. Guys, I'm so glad that we have people like you. And if you like what we do here, and if it is helpful, click that support journalism, that link in the notes section. It talks about supporting conservative journalism. And when you do, we will send you 2 Proud Tennessee conservative bumper stickers and a directory so that you can contact your state officials whenever legislation is proposed. And if there's a story that you would like for us to cover, if you would just put it in the comments section, especially if you have a hot lead, like the one that led to us breaking the story about the Migrant Detention Center here in Chattanooga. If you got a hot lead, let us know. We will cover it. And if you get $50 or more when you hit that support conservative journalism link in the notes section, we'll send you this Proud Tennessee conservative tumbler. Jennifer in our office actually has to order more of these because so many of you have given that we are running out. We only have about half a box left. So get it while supplies last. Brandon Lewis, thank you so much for all of your support and encouragement. We need conservative journalists and we need conservative publications in Tennessee. You may not know this, but we are outnumbered 80-1 in the volunteer state. There are only 2 conservative publications and a whole lot of others, and most of them are left-leaning. A handful are down the center, but we need your support. Thank you so much. I will see you tomorrow for the next Tennessee Conservative News Break. Brandon Lewis signing off.